My father shouted, "My son matters more than you ever will," during Christmas dinner. So I quietly set down my fork, left without drama, and stopped the $18,000 monthly mortgage payment that was keeping them from losing their house in 60 days. Hello lovelies. If you haven't yet, subscribe and say hi in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Now let's get back into the story. The knife scraped against fine china, a sound that would haunt me for months. Christmas dinner 2023. I sat at my parents' mahogany table, wearing the emerald dress I'd bought specifically for this occasion, watching my father carve the turkey with surgical precision. 28 years of holiday memories pressed down on my shoulders like winter snow accumulating on a roof about to collapse. "Sweetheart, pass the cranberry sauce?" My mother's voice was honey-sweet, practiced. I smiled, reaching across when my brother Owen walked in late. His designer sneakers squeaked against the hardwood floors I'd paid to refinish 6 months ago. $18,000 monthly I'd been sending to cover their mortgage since Dad's business venture collapsed. $18,000 from my software consulting firm that I'd built from nothing. "Traffic was crazy," Owen announced, collapsing into his chair. No apology. No acknowledgement of the 45 minutes we'd waited. My sister-in-law rolled her eyes but said nothing. He never did. My mother immediately brightened. "Oh baby, you're here. Let me fix your plate." She sprang up like he was royalty, gracing us with his presence. I watched her pile his plate high with the expensive cuts, the crispy skin, the dishes she'd spent hours preparing. The same mother who'd asked me to just grab whatever, when I'd arrived 2 hours early to help cook. Something bitter coiled in my stomach. Not jealousy exactly. Recognition maybe. A pattern I'd been pretending not to see crystallizing into something undeniable. I glanced at my father, hoping for, what? Fairness. Balance. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "So Owen, how's the job search going?" I asked, keeping my voice light, conversational. 6 months he'd been between opportunities. 6 months of my parents making excuses while I bankrolled their lifestyle. My therapist, Dr. Simpson, had warned me about enabling. I'd defended them every session. Owen shrugged, mouth full. "Got some leads. Nothing concrete yet. Market's tough, you know. I could review your resume," I offered. "Maybe connect you with some recruiters in my network?" My father's fork clattered against his plate. The sound exploded in the dining room like a gunshot. "He doesn't need your help, Simone. Owen is handling things his own way. Not everyone wants to be a workaholic like you." The words punched through my ribcage. Workaholic. As if my success was a character flaw instead of the very thing keeping their house from foreclosure. I'd skipped vacation days, worked through birthdays, sacrificed relationships to build something substantial. And it was reduced to workaholism. I was just offering. "Your brother knows what he's doing," Dad interrupted, his voice carrying that tone. The one that said discussion over. "He's been working on some investment opportunities. Real entrepreneurial stuff. Not everybody's cut out for corporate ladder climbing." Investment opportunities. I'd heard this before. Dad had used similar language right before losing $300,000 in a cryptocurrency scheme. The same dad who'd called me sobbing 2 years ago, begging me to help save the house my grandmother had left them. The house that held every childhood Christmas, every scraped knee kissed better, every report card celebration. I'd liquidated my emergency fund without hesitation. Family first, right? "Pass the potatoes, please." My voice sounded distant even to my own ears. I was calculating in my head. Not consciously, but the numbers appeared anyway like ghosts at a feast. $216,000. That's what I'd paid in mortgage payments over the past year. Not including the $17,000 for the roof repair. The $8,000 for Dad's consulting certification that he never completed. The $12,000 I'd loaned Owen for his sure thing startup that dissolved in 3 months. "You're being awfully quiet," Mom observed, passing me the bowl. "Everything okay with work?" "Fine. Actually, we just landed a major contract with." "That reminds me," Dad interjected, turning to Owen. "Your Uncle Hudson mentioned his firm might have an opening. Executive track. I gave him your number." My hands stilled. Uncle Hudson. who'd ignored 3 emails from me when I'd asked about opportunities for my junior developers. Uncle Hudson, who'd told me at last year's reunion that tech stuff wasn't really relationship-based networking, the way Owen's finance background was. Never mind that Owen had been fired from his last 2 positions for attendance issues. That's great, Dad. Thanks. Owen grinned, the same charming smile that had gotten him out of trouble since childhood. The same smile I'd watched him use on creditors, ex-girlfriends, and our parents every time consequences approached his orbit. I took a sip of wine, expensive Pinot Noir I'd brought, and studied my family. Really looked at them for maybe the first time in years. The way Mom's eyes tracked Owen's every movement with maternal devotion. The way Dad's posture straightened with pride when addressing his son. The way neither of them had asked me a single meaningful question all evening. So we're thinking of updating our wills, Dad announced during dessert, his tone casual like discussing paint colors. My mother's sweet potato pie sat half-eaten on my plate, suddenly tasteless. Just getting our affairs in order, you know how it is. I knew exactly how it was. But still I asked. Updated how? Mom shifted uncomfortably, a tell I'd learned to read at age 7. Well, honey, the house will go to Owen. It just makes more sense since he's the one with children. Or, well, planning to have children soon. She glanced at Owen's wife, who looked equally surprised by this announcement. I've been paying the mortgage, I said quietly. Facts, just facts. For over a year. Which we appreciate, Dad said quickly, like checking a box. But Owen needs stability for his future family. You're established. You've got your business, your condo. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. 3 words that erased $200,000 of filial devotion. 3 words that said my contributions were expected, not valued. 3 words that confirmed what I'd been trying not to know. What about Grandma's wishes? I pressed, my voice steadier than my hands. She left the house to both of you equally. She always said it was for both of us, me and Owen. Your grandmother didn't understand modern economics, Dad replied, dismissive. The property value has increased significantly. It's a substantial asset. Owen will need it. And I don't. You don't have children, Simone. Mom's voice carried an edge of reproach, as if my childlessness was a personal failure rather than a choice. Owen will need to provide for his family. I let the silence stretch, watching Owen avoid my gaze while cutting into his pie. He knew. He'd always known. Golden child syndrome, Dr. Simpson had called it. Can I say something? Owen's wife, Susie, spoke up suddenly. Everyone froze. She rarely involved herself in family dynamics, preferring to scroll through her phone during gatherings. Simone, don't you think it's fair? Owen is the son. He's supposed to carry on the family legacy. The room tilted slightly. Carry on the family legacy. With my money. Using my sacrifices as stepping stones. What legacy? The question escaped before I could stop it. The legacy of bad investments? Of borrowing money and calling it networking? Of expecting someone else to clean up the mess? Simone. Mom's voice cracked like a whip. How dare you speak to your brother that way? I'm not speaking to Owen. I'm speaking to everyone. I've paid over $200,000 into this house in the past year. I've covered Dad's business losses, Owen's failed ventures, the roof, the furnace, We didn't ask you to do that, Dad interrupted, his face reddening. You offered. You wanted to help family. Now you're throwing it in our faces like some kind of martyr. The word martyr hung in the air, ugly and accusatory. I'd been called ambitious, aggressive, intimidating by past boyfriends who couldn't handle my success. But never martyr. Never by my own father for the crime of keeping his roof overhead. I'm not throwing anything. I'm asking for basic recognition that what? That you're so much better than us. Owen finally found his voice, defensive. That your tech money makes you superior? Some of us didn't get the lucky breaks you did. Lucky breaks. As if I hadn't worked 80-hour weeks. As if I hadn't taught myself coding at the public library because we couldn't afford courses. As if luck had anything to do with it. Lucky breaks. I repeated slowly, carefully. My hands were shaking now, adrenaline flooding my system. I worked 3 jobs through college while you partied on Dad's dime. I built my business from my studio apartment while you moved back home rent-free for 2 years. What part of my life looks lucky to you, Owen? At least I don't wave my money around like it makes me special, he shot back. Always calling, checking in, acting like we're charity cases. It's embarrassing. Owen, that's enough, Mom warned, but her eyes were on me, not him. Always watching to make sure I didn't upset the golden child. Always managing my reactions, never his actions. No, let him finish, I said, my voice eerily calm. I want to hear this. How is paying your parents' mortgage that you could never afford embarrassing to you? See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. Owen stood up, animated now. You're so condescending. So superior. Just because you make more money doesn't mean you're better than me. I never said I was better. I said I was paying. There's a difference. Both of you stop it. Dad's fist hit the table, making the dishes jump. This is Christmas dinner, for God's sake. Can't we have one meal without this tension? This tension. As if it were a random occurrence, not the accumulated weight of years of unequal treatment. As if I'd created it by daring to notice. I'm just trying to understand, I continued, my throat tight. I'm trying to understand how this makes sense. How I can pay for everything but inherit nothing. How I can sacrifice everything but receive no acknowledgement. Help me understand the math here. It's not about math, Mom said quietly. It's about family. About what's right for everyone. What's right for Owen, you mean? The words landed like stones. You want to know the truth? Dad stood up, his napkin falling to the floor. His face had gone beyond red into a deeper purple that worried me despite everything. Fine. Here's the truth. Owen is our priority. He's our son. He's the one carrying our name forward. He's the one who'll give us grandchildren. He's the one who matters for our legacy. The room went silent. Even Owen looked uncomfortable now. Susie had stopped chewing mid-bite. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. I waited. Surely he'd clarify. Surely he'd explain that he meant something else. Surely my father hadn't just said what I thought he'd said. What I mean is, he started. No, I interrupted quietly. Say what you mean. What you really mean. His jaw tightened. Old anger, old resentment I'd never fully understood surfaced in his eyes. My son matters more than you ever will. That's the truth. Owen is my son and you're just. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. The silence completed the sentence in ways words never could. You're just the daughter. Just the ATM. Just the one we can depend on to pick up the pieces without demanding anything in return. Just the one whose feelings we don't have to consider because you'll always come back. I felt something break inside my chest. Not dramatically, more like ice cracking on a frozen lake, quiet and irreversible. 28 years of trying to earn what Owen received by existing. 28 years of excelling, achieving, succeeding, hoping that eventually it would be enough. That I would be enough. I set down my fork with deliberate precision. The small clink against the plate sounded impossibly loud in the shocked silence. Okay, I said simply. Simone, sweetheart, he didn't mean. Mom reached for me. I stood up smoothly, my chair sliding back with a soft whisper against the hardwood. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Something crystalline and clear had settled over me like frost. Thank you for dinner. The turkey was perfect. Sit down, Dad commanded. We're not finished here. No, I think we are. I picked up my purse from the side table where I'd left it, next to the poinsettia I'd brought. I'm finished. Don't be dramatic, Owen muttered. He was just being honest. I looked at him, then really looked at him. My little brother who I'd tutored through high school math. Who I'd driven to job interviews. Who I'd co-signed a lease for when no one else would. You're right. He was. And so am I. Simone, please. Mom was crying now, mascara beginning to run. It's Christmas. Don't leave like this. Stay, we'll talk this through. Your father's just stressed about money. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so devastating. Stressed about money. While I'd been paying their bills. I'll send you Dr. Simpson's number, I said gently. She's wonderful. Really helps with family dynamics and setting boundaries. I think you might benefit from talking to someone. We don't need therapy, Dad snapped. We need you to stop being so sensitive. So I said Owen matters more, he's my son. Of course he matters more. That's just biology, that's just how it is. Why are you making this into some big thing? I paused at the threshold between the dining room and the foyer. Family photos lined the hallway. Owen's graduation. Owen's first car. Owen's scholarship award that I'd actually helped him win by writing his essay. One photo of me tucked at the end. My business award ceremony. I brought Mom and Dad as my guests. They'd left early because Dad had a golf game. I'm not making it a big thing, I said. You did. I didn't cry until I reached my car. Then it came in waves, ugly sobs that shook my whole body while Christmas lights twinkled mockingly on neighboring houses. Families inside, presumably treating each other with basic dignity. I sat in my Mercedes, paid for with my workaholic tendencies, and let myself break apart. My phone buzzed. I declined the call. Buzzed again. Declined. Declined. Susie surprisingly. Declined. By the time I reached my condo downtown, I'd received 17 calls and 43 text messages. I turned off my phone and poured myself whiskey. The expensive kind I usually saved for celebrations. Tonight felt like something worth marking even if I couldn't name exactly what. The next morning I called my bank. I need to cancel an automatic payment, I told the representative. She pulled up my account while I stared at my city view, watching people scurry through post-Christmas sales like ants on a mission. The $18,000 monthly transfer to James Mitchell? She confirmed. Yes. Cancel it effective immediately. May I ask? She started professionally. It's no longer necessary, I interrupted. The recipient is handling their own affairs now. After I hung up, I called my lawyer. Jonathan had handled my business contracts for 3 years. He knew me as sharp, decisive, unemotional in professional matters. John, I need to discuss some family financial entanglements. Everything okay, Simone? No. But it will be. I explained the situation clinically, leaving out the emotional devastation. The mortgage payments. The loans. The verbal agreements that were never repaid. He listened without interruption, the mark of a good attorney. Do you want to pursue repayment? He asked finally. I considered it. Briefly imagined court battles, family schisms made legal and official. No. I want documentation that I'm no longer financially responsible. That's all. Consider it done. Simone. For what it's worth. Good for you. Those 3 words shouldn't have meant so much. The first text came on New Year's Eve. Mom, Simone, the mortgage payment didn't go through. I'm sure it's just a bank error. Can you check? I didn't respond. January 3rd, Dad, your mother is worried sick. Call us. We need to discuss the mortgage situation. January 5th, Owen, look, I know Christmas got heated, but don't punish Mom and Dad over an argument. Be the bigger person. Be the bigger person. I'd been the bigger person for 28 years. It was exhausting. January 10th, my phone rang while I was in a meeting. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Listen later. Ms. Mitchell, this is First National Bank calling regarding the Mitchell family mortgage. We've noticed the payment is past due. Please contact us at your earliest convenience. They'd given my number as backup contact when I'd started paying. Emergency purposes, they'd said. I deleted the voicemail. January 15th, Susie sent a long text. Simone, I know things are complicated, but Owen's parents are really struggling. They're too proud to beg, but they're scared. The bank is sending foreclosure warnings. Whatever happened at Christmas, do you really want them to lose their home? I stared at that message for a long time. Did I want them to lose their home? The home where my grandmother had taught me to bake cookies. Where I'd hidden behind the couch during thunderstorms. Where every holiday memory lived. But those memories were mine, not the house's. And they'd already decided I didn't matter enough to inherit it anyway. I typed, Owen can handle it. He's the son. The one who matters. I'm sure his legacy will include finding a solution. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I blocked her number. Then Owen's. Then Mom's. Then Dad's. The silence that followed felt like breathing after years underwater. February brought Valentine's Day in desperation. My office receptionist buzzed me. "There's a woman here claiming to be your mother?" I'd wondered when they'd show up in person. "I'm in meetings all day. Please have security escort her out if she doesn't leave voluntarily." "Simone." Mom's voice crackled through the intercom and I could hear she'd been crying. "Please, baby. Just 5 minutes. Please." My hand hovered over the button. 5 minutes. What harm could 5 minutes do? Every harm. All the harm. Because 5 minutes would become reconciliation without apology. Would become rug sweeping. Would become me paying again because I couldn't watch them suffer, even though they'd had no problem watching me bleed. "No," I said simply. "Goodbye, Mom." The receptionist came to my office afterward, looking shaken. "She said to tell you they've received the 60-day foreclosure notice. She said you're killing your father with stress. She said," she paused. "She said some other things I don't think I should repeat." "Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you handling that professionally." After she left, I pulled up my bank account. The $18,000 I'd been sending monthly was still there. Still mine. I'd started a new savings account labeled Future. It was growing impressively. Turned out I had a lot of disposable income when I wasn't supporting 3 other adults. My phone rang. "Dr. Simpson, our standing appointment." "How are you doing?" she asked after pleasantries. "I don't know," I admitted. "Some days I feel free. Some days I feel like the worst person alive." "They're going to lose the house, Dr. Simpson." "My grandmother's house." "Your grandmother's house that they were leaving entirely to Owen?" "Yes." "While you paid for it?" "Yes." "Simone, say it with me. Their choices are not your responsibility." I couldn't. The words stuck in my throat like fish bones. March 15th. The day the house was auctioned. I knew because Uncle Hudson called from a number I hadn't blocked. "I hope you're happy," he spat. "Your parents are moving into a 1-bedroom apartment. Your mother's on antidepressants. Your father had a stress-induced health scare. All because you had to prove some feminist point." Feminist point. As if basic respect was political. As if not wanting to be an ATM was ideological. "Uncle Hudson, did they tell you what happened at Christmas?" "I know you got your feelings hurt because they're leaving the house to Owen." "Grow up, Simone. That's just how things are done. Sons get the property." "And who was paying for the property?" Silence. Then, "You offered to help." "Nobody forced you." "You're right. Nobody forced me. And nobody forces me to continue." "Goodbye, Uncle Hudson." I hung up and immediately received an email. That. Subject line, "What we lost." Against my better judgment, I opened it. Photos. The house being cleared out. Mom's tear-stained face. Dad looking 10 years older. Owen loading boxes into a U-Haul, angry and defeated. The email text. "I hope you can live with yourself. I hope your pride keeps you warm at night. I hope you remember that you had the power to stop this and chose not to. You were always selfish, but I never thought you were cruel. I was wrong about you. Your mother and I have no daughter anymore." I read it 3 times. Each time I waited for the grief to hit. For the regret. For the overwhelming urge to fix everything. It didn't come. What came instead was clarity. They'd spent 28 years showing me who they were. I just finally started believing them. I deleted the email and blocked his address. Then I did something I'd never done before. I took myself out to the most expensive restaurant in the city and ordered everything I wanted without checking prices or feeling guilty. 6 months later, I sat in Dr. Simpson's office for what I knew would be one of our last sessions. "I keep waiting for it to hurt more," I admitted. "For the guilt to crush me. They lost the house. They're struggling. One had to take a retail job. Mom's in therapy finally. Dad's pride is destroyed. And okay. Does that make me a monster?" Dr. Simpson leaned forward, her expression gentle but firm. "Simone, let me ask you something. In all these months, has anyone from your family apologized?" I thought about it. Really thought. No. "Has anyone acknowledged how their treatment affected you?" No. Has anyone taken responsibility for their financial decisions that preceded your involvement? No. They blame me for everything. Then you're not a monster. You're someone who stopped setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. She paused. How's your business? Expanding. I landed 2 major contracts this quarter. I'm hiring 3 new developers. I'm thriving. And personally? I smiled, real and surprised. I joined a book club. Started dating someone. Nothing serious yet, but it's nice. I'm learning to paint. I haven't had a stress headache in 4 months. These are the things you couldn't do when you were paying $18,000 a month to people who didn't value you. That night, I received a final message. From Owen, somehow getting through my blocks. I finally understand why you did it. Not saying you were right, but I get it. Susie left me last week. Said I was just like Dad, expecting everyone else to carry me. Said I never appreciated what you did. He was right. I'm not asking for money. Just wanted you to know. I'm sorry. Really sorry. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to rebuild, to hope that maybe now things could be different. But I'd learned something in these 6 months. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some families are assignments, not relationships. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for them and yourself is to let go. I didn't respond. I did send a donation to a housing charity in my grandmother's name. Then I closed my laptop and looked out at the city lights, feeling something I'd rarely felt before. Free. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your own experiences in the comments below. Sometimes the hardest boundaries are the most necessary ones. Have you ever had to choose yourself over family? Let me know below, and remember, you're not alone in these struggles.